Thaddeus Cray Productions presents Werewolf Hunter.
The Hunter of Dogmen. Part 1. The tavern is small. And it's just about closing time. It's late Tuesday night. There's only a few people in the place. Of course, they're pretty much finishing up their last drinks. And a couple of them are even acting a little bit of a fool. The bouncer promptly shows them the door. One guy not too willingly. The bartender ignores the shenanigans of the two idiots and looks to a friend that he's known for close to at least 9 years. Hey man, Alex, yeah. The short, stocky man sitting at the bar looks up to his friend. Hey, I'm about to shut down in about 30 minutes, okay? So, yeah, it's looking a little rough. Just one more and I'll move around. Alright. Shot of whiskey is poured for him. Alex knocks it back. He tips the man. Sam sighs lightly. You know, I know. I don't really want to talk about it. I'm aware you don't want to talk about it. I know I wouldn't either, but, well. I just want to make sure you get home in one piece. Should kill both of us if I didn't. Yeah, I know, Alex says grimly. However, a tall, thin man walks up to the bar. I got it. You sure? I got him, don't worry about it, Arnold says. The two are co-workers, Alex and Arnold. They work for a pretty small welding company, but it pays well despite the mess with the pandemic that's been going on. Brookhaven's a small logging community. It's the middle of winter. So business is good despite, well, the lack of business due to the COVID pandemic. Despite this, like I said, the town is affected enough, and it's hard to keep in good spirits. For Alex especially, tomorrow is the anniversary of his wife's death. 6 months anyway. It had been a year since she'd been diagnosed with leukemia. It had been stage 3. It had happened quickly, but she had fought for as long as she could. Arnold holds out his hand. Come on, give me the keys. And how the hell are you going to get home? Nice try, old man. Arnold is roughly 5 years younger than that of Alex. I had Rachel drop me off, that way I can get you home in one piece, so I don't have to worry about that piece of crap car I have. You're the one usually calling my Jeep a piece of shit. Well, maybe so. Besides, she'd kill me if you weren't home in one piece. Come on. I'm not in the mood to fight with you. Not here. Alex at first considers telling the man to piss off. But in the end, the scrawny asshole's right. Fine. He gives the man his keys, and they walk outside. I'm not in the mood for a lecture before you even begin to start it. I'm not going to give you one. Matter of fact, I have a proposition for you. Once the doors are closed and the engine fired up, Alex looks to his friend. What do you mean by a proposition? Well, before I drop you off at that itty-bitty cabin you and her built, I'd like to invite you cordially to have the chance to spend some time in a larger one, and a much nicer one. Okay, and what exactly are you proposing? My uncle, David. He is currently needing me to babysit the place for the next week. That's kind of surprising. Figured that place would be packed, especially with the time of year it is. You wouldn't be wrong normally, but with this fucking pandemic the way it is, yeah, I figured as much. Plus, there's a few renovations that are going to be needed to be made pretty soon, and like I said, he's just wanting me and my family to keep an eye on it for a little bit. Plus, I'm actually eventually going to possibly buy the property. I'm not sure yet. All right. Maybe you're right. Maybe I don't need to be by myself right now. There's no maybe about it. I'm not going to let you do that, man. It's not something that she would want for either of us. What are you getting at? She wasn't just your friend, Alex. She was mine, too. The man understands where he's going with this. He tries to change the subject. How's Timothy? Nice try, old man. He's doing good. He's been asking about you. Wondered why you haven't been showing up. Alex shakes his head angrily. That was kind of low, don't you think? It was intentional. You've been drinking yourself away with self-pity for the last 3 months. Gets kind of old, don't you think? Yeah, you're right. I just don't really know what else to do. At least not right now. Well, I think that it would be good for you if you came with me. Besides, the place needs a few repairs, and honestly, it might be good, I think. You're right. So you're good for it, then? Yeah, what time? Tomorrow, we'll meet at Becky's. The diner? That's right. 6 p.m. You good for that? Yeah, sounds good. All right, I'll meet you there. Time passes, and needless to say, the two part ways. Later that morning, the next day, Arnold wakes up. He doesn't sleep easily. He never has. The man has had anxiety issues all of his life. But now, maybe due with stress at work and just the worry of being laid off. It's a very real thing. Alex was lucky enough to get vacation time, and he himself was also. But the boss had warned them both, Chances are, there's a good chance you may not have a job to come back to. Enjoy what you can while you can. A slim woman, almost as tall as that of Arnold, very gently embraces him from behind. You gonna be all right? The woman is a very lovely woman, as I said. Thick curly hair that spills down her back. This is Rachel. She's a very young woman. She's a very lovely young woman. Roughly about 6 years to 7 years younger than that of Ala, younger than Arnold. Arnold himself is roughly 38, 39. Alex is about 44. Rachel has just turned 30. So needless to say, there's a good little bit of an age gap between the two. But despite this, their attitudes as well as their natures balance out to each other. Arnold is definitely a take-charge kind of guy. But again, like I said, he has anxiety issues, especially as of late. He's not a coward by any means. Far from it. He's one of the boldest individuals you'll ever meet when it comes to doing the right thing. But at the same time, he has problems. Rachel, on the other hand, there you go. Let's save it. Rachel grew up in a small town, not too far out of East Texas, if you get my drift. She was raised in a very liberal family. Overall, very decent people. So, suffice to say, she's very well grounded, if you get my drift. Unlike Arnold, who is pretty high strung. It's always been like I said, the two balance each other out. Their son, a young man named Timothy, who's just turned 13 not even a week ago, he is a very precocious boy. Fairly sheltered between the two of them, but not smothered by any means. As a matter of fact, he's a hard-working boy. You want to talk about it? The lovely Southern belle from Louisiana asks her husband. I'm all right. I'm worried about work. It's not just that. Well, I'm looking forward to our time in Uncle Dave's cabin. It's not just that, though. I'm worried about Alex. Well, he said he was coming, wasn't he? No doubt about it. I just hope that he doesn't change his mind. He's like my brother. I don't want... I've never seen him like this. I mean, his time in the Marines, it was hard enough for him, but this is different. He always had my back, you know. Always. She listens to him, simply rubbing his back, comforting the man. He squeezes her hand and continues. I grew up pretty hard, you know. Mom and Dad, they were there, and they always did what they could for me, but I was always bullied in school, and I don't think they really knew how to teach me to defend myself. It's just something... Well, Dad was always busy with work, and Mom was... she was always drinking herself damn near to death, before she actually did drink herself to death, he says grimly. Alex, hell, he wouldn't even go to the same school that I did. He was... When I met him, I was still in elementary, and he was in middle school, but he saw those boys beating the crap out of me, and he put a stop to it quick. We kind of stuck together after that. You know, of course, we lived our lives, but he taught me a lot. And then, of course, when he was in his 20s, he went off to do his thing, and I always worried about him. I felt like... I guess I felt that... I was kind of jealous of him at the time. You already know I tried to enlist, and they wouldn't let me. Because my psych profile had flat feet, it's just how it goes, but... When he came back, he was such a mess, and... I felt I had the chance to actually repay him, and... He recovered so quickly, especially when he met Sarah. I mean... Weren't you the one that introduced him? As a matter of fact, I was. That asshole Mark, he'd abused her so badly. The man sighs. She was a classmate of mine, you know. She'd always had my back when Alex didn't, and I figured... she's kind of a hero of mine in a way. I figured, why not hook the two of them up? Just didn't know it would go as well as it did. And then, well, you know the rest. That's right when I came in the picture. Exactly, and... Timothy was not Arnold's biological son, but he did allow his boy to take his name. Because, needless to say, very similar to Sarah, Rachel came out of a horrifically abusive relationship. Arnold had, with Alex's help, dealt with the asshole who had abused both of them so badly. Needless to say, the man was still in prison. Leave it at that. I owe the two of you everything, and if you need me to help you, I will. I think you and Timmy need to come with me, obviously. It'll be good for all of us, and if we have to... I just miss her, you know. She's like the big sister I never had, and I want to be there for him. It's the least I can do. She silently gets out of bed and begins to head to the shower. She smirks. You know, he's going to be waking up pretty soon. She means she means Arnold's stepson and her son. Why don't we go ahead and do something? Before that happens, Arnold chuckles lightly. You're in a mood, aren't you? You could say that. He can understand this. This is actually very common for people. At least when it comes to us human beings, you know, especially when they're speaking of death. It's natural for other instincts which are involved to create life as a counterbalance. It's pretty healthy, and Arnold's always accepted this. Rachel has never been one to be, how can I say this, of a dark mind. It's just not there. So, suffice to say, Arnold agrees, and he joins her in the shower. After they have a very nice little quality bit of time, and they clean each other up, to get dressed. There's, the boy, that is Timothy, has already woke up and fixed himself breakfast. Hey, Dad. Arnold looks to the one that he considers his son. Yeah, boy. What do you want to know? Well, we're going to be meeting Uncle Alex in that place. You know, the cabin. That's the game plan, yeah. I'm kind of glad to know that. I missed him. Also been worried about him. I have too. But he's a man of his word. He'll meet us there. We're going to go ahead and go over to Becky's first. We'll meet him there. Sounds good. What do you want me to bring? No electronics. Nothing like that. You're out your brain enough as it is on those damn video games and that cell phone. Enough's enough of that, at least for a week. You can go ahead and plug right in when we get back. We clear? If you say so, the boy says, rolling his eyes. Rachel smirks. You heard your daddy. Put that crap up, you ain't gonna need it. And don't make me put a boot in you. Get moving, now. Fine, Mom. The boy rolls his eyes and grumbles under his breath. They get ready. And time passes. It is roughly that evening that they pile up in Arnold's old beat-up car. And they get ready. Little do they know, the trip they're going to make will be something that changes all of their lives forever. They're heading down the main road, a back road. You have to understand, Brookhaven is in the middle of literally the piney woods of Iowa. So you're talking deep, deep, deep woods, hills, everything. Literally in the middle of no freaking bleeping where. However, it's late at night, and while the cabin itself is roughly about a 50-mile drive away outside of Brookhaven, it's easy enough to get there that you don't really have too many police or any type of road traps or anything like that slowing people down. Of course, you naturally have logging trucks that come in and out, but right now, because of the pandemic, everything is kind of slowed down to a crawl, plus it's Wednesday night. So, suffice to say, because of the fact it's winter, nightfall hits early. So as I said, they're already heading down. Everything has been discussed. And Alex told them that they'd be late. He'd be late after they had their little dinner. They all talked and planned everything. Alex said he had to get a couple of bits of supplies and he'd meet them down at the cabin. So everything has been set. All of them are pretty much have full bellies and they're heading on down there. However, Arnold is very anxious for some reason. He's, as I said before, he's no coward. He's worried. He's horrifically worried. And Rachel can sense it. She can sense it coming off of him in waves. Alan, honey, you really need to calm down. Slow down. We're going to get there. Sorry, I don't like driving in this weather. I'm not a fan of it either, but don't worry, we're going to get there in one piece. He nods. Sorry about that. No, it's all right. I understand why you're nervous. You're worried about him. He's going to be all right. Hell, not even 20 minutes ago, we was all talking. Shooting the shit in that little diner. Stuffing our bellies full. We're going to be all right. And so is he. Timothy is already asleep in the back of the car. His late night dinner has definitely gotten to him. Arnold looks to him and chuckles. Not even 10 minutes, he's out cold. I know, right? Why don't you go ahead and take a hand out of his playbook? All right, I get you. She meant to say a page, not a hand. So, needless to say, the two are simply relaxing. They have roughly about another 45 miles to go. They're driving the back roads. Needless to say, there's not much traffic. It's pretty dead out there. You don't have a lot of police. You don't have too many trucks. It should be easily, without too much of a hitch, no problem at all. Arnold decides to go ahead and speed up just a wee bit, and it's a mistake. He sees the massive tree that's been pulled out into the middle of the road. Rachel screams at him to look out, but it's too late. The last thing he sees, feels, and hears pain. He slams into the steering column. The car is smashed and flips over at least twice to land into the side of the road. And then blackness. The Alpha is pleased, very pleased with his handiwork. He is a massive creature, standing on his hind legs at least a good 9 foot in height. His weight is probably close to 800, 900 pounds of pure solid muscle. This trap in which had been sprung had been very risky. Needless to say, normally he wouldn't do this, but during the wintertime, deer and other types of prey animals can be scarce. This has been somewhat of an emergency. His mate is hungry. She has just birthed a very decent-sized litter of pups. He cannot allow her to go hungry. It has to be done. He is a massive brown-furred creature. His muzzle, long, powerful, rows of teeth. His clawed hands flex, like that of a massive big cat, as he drops to all fours, his scythe of a tail moving back and forth, sending signals of communication to his brethren, 2 other dogs, dogmen, I should say. Him and his pack have traveled the waterways all the way from the southern states up here to Iowa, to the northern parts of Iowa. Let's leave it this. His pack is one of those of the tribes in which do not stay in one spot. They have to constantly move. It's simply the way of it. The only time they ever really slow down is now, when their females give birth to litters of pups. And once everything is settled, and they're strong enough, and the puppies are strong enough to move around, they'll once more continue their migration. But this, is simply the way of things. Normally, they're born in spring. They were born off a season. However, he cannot allow them to be abandoned. Their numbers are so few now, and so preciously needed. He looks to his 2 younger brothers and motions for them to quickly flank the car. He sniffs the air. The beta, who will be called Blackie, and the other one, the Gamma, who is known as Grayback. He is actually the older of the 3, Grayback that is, but he is smaller and stumped over with age. The Alpha, like I said, his coat, massive, dark, brown. Him and Blackie are both magnificent and beautiful creatures. Blackie is obviously the youngest. He looks to the Alpha questioningly. The Alpha nods and snorts, as if saying, "It's okay. Be careful. Make sure that they're not armed." He is all too well aware of the thunderstick, in which these humans may have, once it speaks. In the direction it is pointed, it can be fatal. Arnold awakes very slowly. "Rachel, are you all right?" "Oh my God. Timmy?" "I'm all right, Mom. I'm not sure. I think I broke a leg," she says. "Jesus!" She winces and realizes her right leg is stuck in the wreckage of the car. She looks to Arnold with a look of terror. "What the hell happened?" "I don't know. What the hell could have pulled that thing out in the middle of the road like this?" he says. He spits out blood. He realizes his 2 front teeth have been knocked out from hitting the steering column. And he feels a very heavy sense of dread. He realizes they are being watched, and that they are not alone. Blackie's excited. He can smell their fear. He hungers. He also wants to get this over with. He is all too well how dangerous human beings can be. They have actually taken down small bands of loggers before. In this area, there were pretty much very little trouble, but this is different. Those men had not been in one of these strange metal boxes. They'd been out in the open. One of them had had a thunderstick, but it had been easy for them to pounce upon the man and rip him apart and take him back to the den. They had all eaten quite well, but this was different. They could smell the fear, and it's intoxicating. They even have a young one with them. He shouldn't put up much of a fight. Greyback snarls at Blackie as if telling him, "Slow your roll, boy." The young one, who is not much more than a pup himself, snarls back, impatient. The alpha barks as if saying, "Knock it off." "You, Greyback," he notions. The elder looks to the one, in whom it is actually his much younger brother. Greyback is too old now to be the alpha, but his younger brother, the alpha, currently, has wisdom, and he listens to what the massive Dogman has to say. He motions with his muzzle as if to say, "Go through the back. Make sure that he's not armed or has any type of weaponry. You, Blackie, go to the side. I will take the front." They all nod, and they quickly make their way into their actions to be known. Arnold looks slowly. Outside, through the windshield. My God. What are you seeing? Rachel. Don't move. Dad, quiet, Arnold says. I'm not trying to be angry with you, boy, but I need you to be quiet. Do you understand? All right, Tim says, terrified. The Alpha steps forth. The car is flipped back over. So it's literally, even though it's smashed and it's rolled over twice, it's literally sitting in the proper position. Of course, the axle, as well as the engine and everything else, is totally destroyed. And the windshield is completely smashed as well. I need you to get my gun. In the glove compartment. Rachel says nothing. She hands it to him and presses it in his hands. He makes sure it's loaded. He's terrified. He has never had to fire this thing except outside of a firing range before in his life. He looks to the massive creature that grins, or it seems to grin, as it snarls low. The Alpha drinks in Arnold's fear. Timothy, do not say a word and lock the back doors. Do you understand? Roll the windows up. They're already up, Dad. All right. The doors are locked, too. Good. Rachel, do not get out of this car. What are you going to do, you damn fool? She yells at him. I need you to be quiet. For once in your life, please. Greyback quickly rushes forth, digging his claws into the back of the car, slamming them literally through the hood. Tim screams in horror as the massive beast licks all the way, literally up and down along the back panel of the car, the back window, and then across the back side window where Tim is. He's screaming and crying. Rachel, of course, sees Blackie coming forth. He snarls viciously right into the side, literally into the passenger side, and he slashes forth. Arnold screams in horror as he then screams for Rachel to lean back. He shoots through the window with that revolver, hitting Greyback right in the jaw. The slug rips right through the Dogman's jaw and out through the side of his face. Greyback screams in horror and agony as he drops to the ground, clawing at his face. His jaw, of course, is completely ruined. The Alpha is infuriated. He says nothing. Arnold realizes he's going to die. There is no way to look out of this or run from this. I'm sorry, Rachel. he says. Close your eyes, Timmy. And with this, he actually pulls himself out of literally through the driver's side window, which is open. The Alpha, in this, he aims for the Alpha. The Alpha grabs him by the throat and tears him out of the car and tears him apart. Arnold is killed within a matter of minutes, ripped limb from limb by the Alpha and Blackie. Grayback is still horrifically injured. And the Alpha looks to his elder brother with pity and grief. Rachel, her leg is still caught in the wreckage. She's going nowhere. She screams Arnold's name as Blackie looks with grief and horror to his elder brother and the damage that's been done to him. He looks to Rachel and slams through the passenger side and rips out her throat with his massive claws. He grabs her face and rips, tearing her face completely off of her body, literally away from her head. And with this, the massive jaws of his clamp around her shoulder, and he rips her out of the car. Timmy is screaming in horror, as all of a sudden, the sound of a shotgun pierces through the night. Once the sound of the shotgun fires through the night, Blackie feels horrific agonizing pain as his back is literally pierced with dozens of pellets that rip into his flesh. A dogman's flesh is very thick compared to that of most animals. Think of like that of a boar, or maybe even something beyond that, if you get my drift. Pretty much anything short of a very high velocity round isn't going to do much damage to these creatures. They're far from bulletproof, but they are very strong and very powerful. Needless to say, when Arnold had shot at Grayback with that revolver, that had been a very high velocity round, the man kept a .44 in the glove compartment at all times. You might think it's overkill, but Arnold was not one to take chances, and he was always a dead shot, despite the fact he was a nervous wreck half the time. Alex had taught him to shoot, and the man was actually a better shot than his friend. So, suffice to say, shotgun slugs, on the other hand, while at up close range, they're very devastating to any human being. To a dogman, not really. Needless to say, Blackie drops to all fours, wheeling about. The Alpha makes his move. He's already seen one of his other. He already has seen one of his brothers practically murdered right in front of him. He's seen his younger brother shot. No, to hell with this. This two-legged bastard is going to die now. He lunges forth. Alex is the one who has fired the shotgun. He had stopped right in time to see the carnage. He's never seen creatures like this before. He's horrified, but also just in shock. Now, he's seen some crazy stuff, but nothing like this. The Alpha rushes forth, grabbing onto Alex, ripping the shotgun away. His jaws flash forth, and he rips out Alex's throat. And with this, he casts him aside into a tree, with enough force to damn near shatter every bone in his body. His back is broken in two. Alex is killed immediately, or so one would think. The Alpha looks angrily to Timmy, who even now is basically crying, and he's not getting out. He's seen both of his parents murdered, but he knows better than to try to run. He knows these things would kill him. The Alpha looks to Grayback, who's whimpering and trying to stand, but his jaw is literally hanging off of his head. He looks a mess. The Dogman is very, very angry about this. He also knows he cannot let his brother suffer. Had he been in Grayback's spot, he would want the same done. He looks to Blackie, who whines in pain and anguish. He snarls as to say, "I'm sorry." Grayback looks to him, his eyes pleading for death. The Alpha nods, and with a vicious slash, he quite literally rips into Grayback's face, killing him instantly. The force of the blow, as well as the sharpness of those talons, enough to immediately end his life. The Alpha and Blackie howl into the night in their grief and their pain. Now at this, the Alpha snarls, looking to the direction of the one in whom had been responsible for hurting Greyback. Him and Blackie had acquired the revenge needed. They had torn the bastard to shreds. He will feed. He will definitely feed his pups well tonight. His mate is in their den, and he needs to get him and Blackie both. They need to get this prey quickly back to the den where they can be fed to his mate and their pups, and they themselves can feed. There's possibility more humans could come. The trap, while it was definitely ingenious, this right here, too much time has been delayed. Of course, they'll have to take Greyback with him and bury him. And make sure that he cannot be found again by any of these two-legged freaks, he thinks to himself. However, he looks to the direction of Alex, the one who had shot his younger brother, Blackie. Blackie whines. Alpha drops to all fours and sniffs his back and growls softly as if to say, "You'll be all right." Blackie nods slowly, and they look to see where Alex should be, and they see that his body is not there. We now go into Alex's memories. As his body shuts down from the attack from the Alpha, he is left for dead. However, the regeneration that constantly flows through his body due to the lycanthropy quickly brings him back to life. His mind, the synapses fire, and we see through his memories. The first memories of him as a child, with his mother and his father, fairly happy. His father one night is simply sitting down, talking with him, telling him what he expects of him over the summer. His father is like most of the men during this period of time in Brookhaven. They're a logging family. He expects his son to be able to handle things as he grows older, and he will guide him in the ways of affairs and becoming a man who lives off the land. And he tells his boy that he is proud of him, and to keep doing as he is making awesome progress. Unfortunately, the scream of their mother, a woman named Rose, cannot be denied. Isaac tells his boy, he tells Alex, "Stay here, do not move." He tells him to literally hide in the barn, and that's what Alex does. Isaac grabs up a rifle and quickly runs up into their home to aid his wife. It's the last thing he will ever do. Alex, being a very, well, even back then he was stubborn. He runs after his father when he hears him scream. And what he sees is pure horror. He sees a massive, wolf-headed beast. Not a dogman, but something slightly smaller. And the face, not quite as elongated. The creature is black as night. His eyes filled with rabid hatred and insanity. The beast is upon Alex. Alex is able to get one lucky shot off with that rifle, right as the creature rips into him and bites into his shoulder. He is able to shoot the creature right in the head, right between the eyes. His father had taught him to be a very good shot. Yes, a young boy, no older than that of 7 years old, was a damn crack good shot with a rifle. The beast had grabbed him and threw him after it had bitten him. Alex had been able to pick up the rifle because the fiend had been too mindless and insane to even recognize the rifle as a threat. He had simply come into that home, torn everything apart, and pretty much intended to do the same thing to the boy. The lucky shot is what killed the creature. It had not been silver. But of course, that is not necessarily what is needed to kill a werewolf. It helps. However, being shot in the head will definitely do the job, especially if the brain is irreversibly destroyed. And unfortunately, pretty much those are the three things that will kill a werewolf better than a doornail. A good headshot shut down the brain, or enough trauma, be it blood loss, or decapitation, and of course fire. And silver naturally will do the job. It slows down their regeneration. Alex had been infected that night. Suffice to say, he had had no other next of kin to help out with anything. They simply, the authorities had passed it off as a wolf attack and had been put in an orphanage. He had been traumatized, but he was able to recover pretty quickly. However, by the time he hit 13, the full moon, he had changed that night. He'd been in a small little group home, orphanage, whatever you want to call it, foster home. He'd been on good terms with the other 11 boys that lived there, as well as that of, you want to call her the foster parent or the house mother, whatever you want to call her. It was one of the better places in which a child in those situations could live. Unfortunately, it had not mattered. The full moon had happened, and he had changed. We now see horrific images of Alex changing. As a young boy, trying to halt it, but not being able to. He tore everyone in that house apart. He remembers every bit of detail. Unable to control what he is doing. Just the hunger, the rage. Everyone is torn to shreds. He remembers now, after that, being hunted by men with guns, and an older man, a Native American man, stopping them. He remembers one of them refusing to see reason, and the old man kills him, deader than a doornail. He himself had changed into the same type of creature Alex had become that night, a massive Greyford beast. Suffice to say, the other two had halted. There had been an agreement made. Charles would take him in. This is the old man's name, Charles Blackfeather. He would take him in, and he would raise Alex, teaching him the way of the wolf. Charles Blackfeather takes in the boy as his own. He is a very powerful, high-ranking elder, part of the Council of 10. 10 elder werewolves that rule the packs and the tribes with an iron fist. For those of the breed must be careful about how they reproduce. It is simply the way of it. Many pharaohs are tracked down and killed every year. Had Charles not understood the situation, Alex would have joined their ranks in the slain. However, Alex is also something of a rarity. It is not known for one who has been bitten by a pharaoh so young to survive into near adulthood. It had been puberty in which it set the beast off. Such transferences of the infection are strictly forbidden, for usually one so young cannot survive. It is taboo, as well as an unforgivable sin among their kind. Usually both the one who is infected and the one who dared cross such lines, they are both slain. However, this is an exception to the rule, for the pharaoh in whom had brought Alex across had already been killed. Charles is speaking on his behalf, and he teaches Alex. Alex is a rare one, as I said before, due to the fact he was bitten and infected at such a young age. His powers progress terrifyingly quick. He is taught the ways of the beast. He becomes an alpha rank by the time he is well into his 20s. Such a thing is not impossible, but is very rare. Needless to say, Alex at that time has kept it straight and narrow. There are very few who actually knew of his secret. Sarah was one. Arnold was not among them. Because the fact is, those who know of the werewolf's secret, of course, are also put in greater danger. It is simply the way of it. Now, moving on to the current situation. Alex slowly begins to awaken as the beast takes over. He looks to his palm. The mark of the beast, the pentagram, bleeds freely as his body contorts. The two remaining dogmen, the Alpha and Black, look in shock. The Alpha had heard stories from his own elders, of his own tribe, of such creatures, wolf changers, and this may be why he had cast the bearded one aside so quickly. He sensed something was wrong. And now he looks in shock as a change happens almost within a matter of seconds. Not minutes, but seconds. Alex's clothes are ripped to shreds. He himself stands on his hind legs. Massive, digitigrade legs. Massive woven head. Clawed hands. But no tail. He's also smaller than the Dogmen. Even Blackie is larger. Alex stands roughly 6 foot, 6.5 feet maybe. However, his weight is massive. You're talking at least 450 to 500 pounds worth of muscle, of beasts. The Alpha snarls low. And he does not hesitate. He looks at Timmy, who is still terrified, and has actually wet himself and defecated himself in terror. He could smell the fear. Any other time, he would have enjoyed making the boy a meal. It's simply the way of it. Blackie is hot-headed. He does not hesitate. He rushes forth to engage the black-haired werewolf right before him. Alex dodges under Blackie's slash, and his shorter, he basically lunges forth with his own shorter muzzle. His jaws open, and he crushes down on Blackie's arm, breaking his forearm with pathetic ease. His claws leap forth, and he slashes down, gutting Blackie. Before he can even make a move or a yelp, he is killed within a matter of seconds. The Alpha steps back in horror. He has just seen his last brother slain. He goes insane. He loses it. Timothy has not lost consciousness, even though he has come close to fainting in fear. He looks to that of Alex. Surely that has to be Alex. He had just seen him, but he had seen him killed just a minute ago. This makes no sense. The Alpha engages Alex, literally head on. He grabs Alex by the throat, his size proving the greater advantage as he slashes, quite literally intending to disembowel the werewolf right before him. However, the Dogman is not strong enough, as Alex grabs his hand, grabbing it at the wrist with his free hand. And with this, he pulls with enough strength to actually dislocate the Dogman's arm or front leg at the shoulder. This hideous pop of flesh and ripping meat can be heard. The Dogman howls in agony as Alex kicks him with such force he slams, ironically, into the tree that had been drug out into the road to cause this carnage to start with. The Alpha literally feels one of his back legs break. He does not have the ability to heal himself as a werewolf does. These are powerful creatures. They are not supernatural beasts. The Dogman whimpers angrily. He has to get away. The fact is, his mate is vulnerable. She is alone. If he does not find a way to get back to her, she will be defenseless. True, she can hold herself, but in the end, this is not acceptable. No, no! He cannot allow this to happen, as Alex says nothing. He drops to all fours and slams himself into the Alpha, knocking him on his back. His claws reach forth and slash down, but the Alpha bites at Alex's hand, damn near breaking the bones in his wrist. His jaws crush down further, and he's actually able to render Alex's hand useless. However, Alex's other hand is free. He slashes forth, damn near ripping the muzzle off of the Alpha, who howls in pain. Alex allows his other hand to regenerate, and with this, he grabs both the upper and lower parts of the muzzle, and he wrenches the Dogman's jaws apart with a sickening crack, just like Charles Blackfeather had taught him when it comes to fighting other werewolves. The Alpha shrieks so loudly, and his vocal cords rupture with such a sickening shriek that the windows in the back of the car where Timmy was break and shatter. But his death is instantaneous. Alex snarls angrily and raises up on his hind legs. Timmy is crying horribly. Alex very calmly stalks forth, snarls, barely able to contain his hunger and his anger. He realizes he cannot change back in this state. He'll lose control. and he'll possibly have a permanently feral mindset. He looks to the one that is Greyback. She snarls low and drops to all fours, ripping into his flesh, eating, consuming, holding the beast at bay. He's now possibly able to will back the change. He focuses. In a matter of minutes, he changes back. He's in horrific agony, horrible pain. However, he's able to focus. He damn near blacks out, but he's able to hold his own. As Tim looks to the bearded man that approaches him, he wants to scream in terror. He's just seen his parents torn to pieces before him. They're both, of course, very dead. Alex looks down in shock at the two who are literally like a brother and sister to him. He looks to the one that is like almost a nephew or a son. He shudders as he gains control of the beast further. He makes no hesitation or effort to hide his tears. He doesn't break down. He's at this moment too far gone for that. He looks to Tim once more and says, "I'm sorry." "Alex?" "Yeah, it's me." "Mom, I know." "What?" "I don't know what they are. Right now, I need you to stay in that car. Do you understand? I have a couple of phone calls I have to make. I need to make sure that whatever these things are, they're not found." The boy nods. And needless to say, he makes a phone call to his old friend. "What's going on, boy?" Charles answers on the phone. "I need some help, old man." "What's going on?" Alex tells him of the entire situation, as well as the carnage that's been left behind. "Jeez, my God," Charles says. "Have you ever encountered..." "I'll answer your questions in a few. Right now, we need to get that boy to safety, your friends dealt with, and those monsters disposed of. I'll answer all questions you have once all that is done. Do you understand?" Alex knows better than to question his mentor on such things. Within a matter of hours, men in black vehicles, SUVs, vans, quickly show up. Suffice to say, every last one of these individuals are either connected to that of the Brotherhood of the Wolf, or they themselves are part of the Brotherhood of the Wolf, as in werewolves. The Dogmen's carcasses are quickly rounded up and thrown in the vehicles. One of them gives his condolences to Alex. The short, stocky man nods as he's getting close. Tim, of course, is taken to a place where he can at least be kept safe for now. The boy has family who will take care of him. However, it will be a very hard road for this child to actually overcome. Time passes, and we now focus to a very old home in Texas. It is roughly close to 3 weeks after the events of what have happened. Alex is demanding answers. "Sit down, Alex, and I will talk to you about them." It's about fucking time. Alex rarely cusses, so needless to say, when he's doing this, he's furious. "Sit down!" Charles snarls. Alex throws his hands up in the air and says, "Fine. First off, how is the boy?" "He's alright. He's with relatives. He knows better than to say anything. He's not dumb. He's wise, because if he doesn't keep his mouth shut on certain things, we can't protect him." "So what are these things? Who in the hell would want to threaten him?" "People in the government. if you understand where I'm going with this. But of course, the CIA and other alphabet agencies, they have long fingers, you know that. And while us and the Brotherhood, we have power, unimaginable power, there's only so much we can do. Our influence only goes so far. It took a lot of convincing. I'll leave it at that. He's safe, that's all you need to know. Good. I will make sure that he is watched after on my end. His great uncle is keeping an eye on him. A man named David. He's a bit of a hard ass, but actually, I think that's exactly what he's going to be needing right now. He'll give the kid what he needs, and he's viciously protective, too. He can hold his own, and then some. Some ways better than me. Alright, that's good to know. So tell me, what the hell are these things? They just killed 2 of my best friends in front of me. I want answers. And you're gonna get them. They go by many names. And they go by different stories of their origins and legends. I don't know exactly where they come from. But they are known as the Cynocephali. Dog-headed ones. Exactly. I know my Greek, old man. Of course you do, boy. Every 5 years, we have what is known as a purge. These creatures outnumber us 5 to 1. If not more. They reproduce quickly. And as you have noticed, they are very resilient and very intelligent. Yeah. That Alpha, he was a powerful one. He damn near killed me. He made short work of all of them. One-on-one, these creatures are no match for us. Even a feral of our kind could easily rip apart a lower ranking of their number. However, these creatures fight in packs, in case you have not noticed. Just like we do, but there are more of them. Alex nods grimly. But why? They were hungry. It's that simple. These creatures are not human. There's nothing human about them. I see. So these are not... No, they're not one of us. They never were. They don't think as we do. You have to understand that. They're animals. Very intelligent. In some ways empathic animals. But they are animals. They don't see right and wrong like we do. There was nothing personal in their actions. However, they reproduce quickly. Very fast. Within a matter of 8 years, they're practically full grown. That Alpha was roughly that age. He was in his prime. They usually strike out on their own after 2 to 3 years, and they reach full maturity by around 6 to 7 years. By 8 to 9, they're usually fit to lead their own pack. Alright. Either that or they strike out on their own completely. We do have Ronin among their numbers. Because they reproduce so fast, and because of their appetites, they're not very picky. When they avoid humans for obvious reasons. They have no desire to be hunted or killed themselves. But when prey is scarce, they're not above setting traps. They're not above hunting. Anything they can get their hands on. And naturally, I think you can understand why we hunt them. We have had, over the last 3 centuries, very bad attention towards us. It's damn near wiped us out. Yeah, I put 2 and 2 together on that quick. I want to destroy these things. You want revenge, I get that. By the way, we found out why there was such a strong concentration of them. What are you saying? There's more of them? Of course there's more. That right there was a small scouting party. The Alpha was going out to make sure that his mates and her pups were well fed. Oh yes, we found them, and they were dealt with as well. I have a proposition for you, but I'm not sure you would be fit to take it. But it might actually help you get some of this anger out of you. You know, Sarah wanted a lot for you. She had big concerns. But I also know that you are not meant to settle down. None of us are. She was a good woman. You know, we talked. I offered to bring her across. I remember the conversation we had, and she refused you, even though I gave you my blessing. You don't have to bring that up, old man. It's fact. The fact is, Alex, your self-pity, why you fight it? And I admire you for that. It's still there. The fact is, you bury it. You need to focus it. That's what I've always taught you. When you enlisted, I was proud of you for that. I have to admit. Believe me, some of my contacts definitely had your back, and you performed very well for your country. And you did a few favors for us as well out there. You killed a couple of pharaohs as well as a couple of renegades. Your service has always been impeccable with us. You're possibly maybe the strongest of our kind that has ever existed. And I don't regret raising you as I did. But I'm offering you a chance. There are those among our ranks called dog hunters. Do you understand where I'm going with this? Possibly. Good. I'm giving you the chance to hunt these creatures. Each term of service is 2 years. It's considered a tour. How many of these dog hunters are there out there? There are 5 at any given time. Every 2 years, we trade one out. The maximum tours you are allowed is 4. And of course, 8 years to one of us is nothing. You have to understand, your average werewolf, of course, due to their lifestyle, violence and death go hand in hand. So many of them, of course, didn't live to be old. But those who did would usually live at least twice the length of a span that a normal human being would before their death of old age. So needless to say, 8 years to one of these guys is nothing. Alright. You'll be paid well, too. And you damn sure will have almost near impunity with your actions. But don't abuse that. I wouldn't do that anyway. I'll make sure that child is taken care of. Timothy will not need to want, nor will his uncle. David's a proud man. He may not accept help. Fair enough. That boy is going to definitely need help. A lot of it, I know. So there you go. What do you say? You have a deal. I want to end these creatures. We'll never be able to wipe them out, but we can at least keep their numbers low. We've had enough problems due to these creatures. They're part of nature. They're part of balance, of course. To drive a species to extinction is insanity, not to mention pure evil. But these creatures have become too numerous. And plus, I want to know why they've become so numerous. They have been around as long as we have, possibly since the beginning of time itself. But I want answers, and I think that you can help me find them. Alex narrows his eyes. All right. And thus, the end of Chapter 1 of the Dog Hunter series is done. I hope you guys enjoyed my first chapter involving Alex McIntyre and his situation with the Dogmen. There'll be more chapters of the Werewolf Hunter coming out there. And he will not just be dealing with Dogmen, he'll be dealing with other creatures as well. I guarantee that. I'm more than willing to take suggestions in the comments. And the fact is, though, I'm just warning you guys ahead of time. This is a project I've been working on for many years. I just have not had the guts to really release it until now. I'm just letting y'all know that right at this moment in time. But I'm always taking suggestions. Leave them in the comments. Believe me, I'd love to hear, even feedback. Believe me, I actually welcome constructive criticism. Disrespect I laugh at, but we, I think, know that already. But as for constructive criticism and ideas, hit me up. Worst thing I'll say is no. But believe me, I enjoy having my work critiqued and reviewed within reason, just like any human being. But more you know, believe me, I hope you enjoyed this, and believe me, I love making it. I'm just letting you know that it will not be the final work by any means. There are many more chapters coming out. Get me ideas. Believe me, I would definitely love to give the chance for Alex to have to face many other types of cryptids, even supernatural affairs, But as I said before, some of the stuff is already preset in my mind, but I'm more than willing to definitely add new ideas. Let me know what you think. And of course, you guys already know how to reach me. WesVic@dogmancams.com. If y'all need me to be sharing your cryptid experiences, I'll be glad to do that. That's on John Bell's side, the Dogman Cam Show. If you guys are needing me to, or wanting to have your supernatural, paranormal experiences set out there, and listened to and heard, and that chance given to you, let me know, and I guarantee you, I'll put you on Sean Graham's show, Chasing the Truth. Hit me up. You guys know how to reach me. I will talk to you guys soon. Be blessed and be safe.